Today we're going to take you to Delos Island. Delos Island is a small island off of Mykonos, Greece. This is a shuttle boat I took to get over to the island. The only way to get to Delos Island is to get a ferry by one of the nearby islands, Mykonos, Paros, or Naxos. There are no accommodations on the island. There are no airports. There's no hotels. And there most certainly is no cell service. It is strongly recommended that you buy a ferry ticket much in advance, especially in the busier months. Now, the round-trip ferry does not include the site entry, which is 12 euros. There is no guides on the site unless you pre-authorize that in advance, which you can do through Viator or get your guide. The swells are probably about 15-20 feet. So, not that I have very much hair, but oh my God. The duration of the crossing varies from 45 minutes to approximately 1 hour, 30 minutes, depending on the state of the sea. The waters are very choppy, so if you're prone to seasickness, you should have your medications before you get on the little boat. The island of Delos is widely considered one of the most important historical, mythological, and archaeological sites in Greece. It is situated in the center of the Cyclades archipelago, right at the heart of the Aegean Sea. It is believed that Delos had a position as a holy sanctuary even a millennium before the mythology of the Olympian gods was spread in the country. After about 55 minutes on the ferry, we finally arrive at Delos Island. We get to meet our tour guide and the only living residents on the island. That's right, cats. Hundreds of them everywhere. As we walked down the path, there was this large body of water, but it was only a few inches deep, and it was pink, and it was surrounded by salt. And going up a little further, there were several other small bodies of water surrounded by the salt, which is near the Temple of Artemis. The temple of goddess Hera consists of a nave and an antetemple with 2 columns and an annex in front. The walls of the small and well-preserved temple are built in marble, which dates back to 500 BC. In the commercial ports were many shops and stores directly by the sea, almost without any connection within the city. This indicates that the goods were destined for immediate export. Delos could import and export tens of thousands of slaves the same day. So there was a proverb saying, "Trader, come to the port, unload, and all is sold." The entrance to the huge residences is known as the Italian Agora. The largest edifice in Delos is directly south of the Leto of Portico with 4 Doric columns in front. Over the basement there is a floor with a square pillars instead of columns in the porticos and Ionic archive. The center of the space occupies a large quadrangular square measuring 48 by 68 meters. It is surrounded by a colonnade with a total of 112 columns. The sacred lake is the legendary birthplace of Apollo and Artemis. Although it was drained in 1929 to prevent the spread of malaria, there is a circular wall that marks where it used to be. Just past the Italian Agora, we find the Lion Terrace. 5 marble lions that guarded the sacred palm that Leto, Apollo's mother, held onto when she gave birth to the god of light. You are at the heart of the ancient cosmos, thus framing the avenue, guarding it in a manner befitting the holy places of the East and Egypt, causing divine awe in the visitors as true guardians of the sanctuary. Of the 16 original fearsome lions, only 9 have survived. The ancient Greeks believed that the god Apollo was born here. The summer sun reflects off the marbles and stones strewn across the island, just as it did in antiquity when it symbolized the light of inquiry, reason, and harmony. As you stand in the center of the historic Delos, you know how the ancients once felt with their sanctuary. Spread out around you are the island's legendary monuments: the House of Naxians, the Temple of Artemis, Python, House of Dionysus, and the Ancient Theater. Also, the housings of the Delians and the Temple of Isis. The construction of the Temple of Apollo plan of the Sanctuary of Apollo, the Temple of the Delians, is the largest of 3 Greek temples dedicated to Apollo within the temenos of the Sanctuary of Apollo on the Greek island of Delos. The first temple from the south, which is the largest, construction began in 476 BC and was completed in 314 BC. The columns of white marble were unbarred and plates cryptodia without the final carving. It is the only temple pavilion. A rough path leads up from the base of Mount Kynthos, the highest point on the island. On the slopes are the remains of shrines, including temples dedicated to Egyptian gods and the sanctuary of Syrian gods built in 100 BC. Many different regional powers erected structures on Delos and exhibitions of wealth and power. Near the propylaea built by the Athenians, visitors can also see the portico of Philip V of Macedon and the portico of Attilos I, king of Pergamon. This is the marketplace. It's a 1st century BC square used by the island's trade unions.
So we're going out of this.
The marketplace shows evidence that the society on Delos was made up of a number of merchant associations. Delos had a position as a holy sanctuary for a millennium before Olympian Greek mythology made it the birthplace of Apollo and Artemis. From its sacred harbor, the horizon shows the 3 Knesset mounds that have identified landscapes sacred to a goddess, presumably Athena. In other states, one retaining its pre-Greek name, Mount Cynthias, is crowned with a sanctuary of Zeus. As mythology tells us, before the birth of Apollo, Delos was an invisible rock floating in the Aegean Sea. The goddess Leto, pregnant by Zeus, was desperate to find a place to give birth, but no one would take her in, fearing the wrath of Hera, Zeus's jealous wife. Seeing her distress, Zeus sought help from his brother Poseidon, the sea god, and asked him to anchor the invisible inlet of Leto's sake. Poseidon, obligated, tied it to the deep and named it Delos, which means visible. Leto then leaned back against the slope of Mount Kynthos, holding onto the island's single palm tree, and gave birth to her son, the god of light. One of the world's finest collections of ancient Greek sculpture awaits at the Archaeological Museum of Delos. The museum has 9 rooms, including sculptures, mosaics, pottery, inscriptions, jewelry, a funeral statuary, and gravestones. It also has the torso of Arcadic Koros from the sanctuary of Apollo, the statues of Dioscorus and Cleopatra, as well as Boreas abducting the nymph Orthia. In 1990, UNESCO added Delos to the World Heritage List, citing its exceptional archaeological site, which conveys the image of a great cosmopolitan Mediterranean port. its influence on the development of Greek architecture, and its sacred importance throughout ancient Greece. Originally made of wood, Delos Theater was replaced by a stone structure seen today, dating to the 3rd century BC. It could hold 5,000 spectators, and the entire area has archaeological remains, including private dwellings from the time of Cleopatra and Delos. I hope you enjoyed your tour of Delos, Greece today. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my videos. And remember, make it fun, make it yours.